Guys, welcome to another episode of Otherwise You Well. I think this is episode number 4. We've got an extremely special guest today. As you guys know, me and JP want to sort of break the stigma about speaking when times are tough, especially for men. We've got Jared Flanagan here, also known as the Harvester. He's got a pretty big following on Facebook and Instagram, and he's going to talk with us today. He's had some experiences himself through friends and personal experiences. We'll try and touch into that for a bit, and yeah, welcome Jared.
Thank you guys, I
Welcome,
appreciate
Jared.
it. As much as you made me feel like I'm a guest, it's a guest to be with you. It's a privilege to sit with you boys.
Thanks a lot, man.
100%.
But just before we get to the serious stuff, Jared, I would like to hear your opinion. This morning my brother came to my house, left here 6:40 because he borrowed my bucket. First thing he did, he opens the door, straight to the car case, orders coffee, and think that's fine.
Oh, come on. Hey? No.
So explain yourself. I want apology in front of
I
anyone.
went to the toilet, and then as soon as I walked out there, he was sitting there waiting with you.
Oh, lucky, got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a while, though.
Yeah.
So it was proper one. But anyway, yeah, Jared. So tell us a bit about your background, your history, where you come
Okay,
from,
so-
born, raised.
Okay, so originally from Zimbabwe. The Harvester comes from a long background of hunters. Hunters in my family, my dad's dad. My dad's dad was a sniper in the Rhodesian army. And then living off the land. I've got a farm just outside Nigel, the guys will know, called the Harvester Ranch. And, starting on hunting and harvesting and moving over to more men's health awareness, and not just mental health awareness, also your physical, being overweight or being the first
Your
thing,
well-being in general.
and the first thing that I noticed was when I feel happy with myself, my body, my mental health, just even if it's a 20 or 30%
100%.
more, you feel better. And I incorporated that into it as well, and it got going, and I started feeling better. But you can't always keep it. I know you boys are the rugby boys, so you guys have to be living all year round. But for normal guys, it's different.
No, I can relate to it. I must say, I speak when I go 2-3 weeks of my diet or start eating well or don't eat well, and it's sort of a snowball effect. It comes with week 1, it comes week 2. Then then I can honestly feel my mood and depression
100%.
not just drop because it's just you start feeling sloppy and then you just don't feel good. But Jared, I'm touching on that. You said you live off the land, eh?
Yeah,
So-
I try to as much as we can.
So how long have you been doing that for?
The Harvester, living off the land when I was still wild of hunting, with just the purpose of hunting, that was sort of, but properly now trying to, as much as we can, 2 years, 2 years.
Off the grid completely.
Trying to, no, we still got ESCOM, we still got load shedding, but the food, the water, everything is as much as we can, I would buy a sheep, we get the sheep slaughtered, the cattle, the same thing, but trying to stick 90% onto venison, unless we bring something up ourselves. Venison is no hormones.
Unbelievably healthy, yeah.
Everything is off the land. My dogs only eat venison. That's as far as we've gone. And
I guess that's a good what you were not rotation. What you put in your body, and obviously that converts to how you feel. Obviously, we just spoke about
100%.
So do you have? Is it wild fiesta?
So it's a hunting farm where I get hunters on every year for, as I was saying to you, in 80% of the year. Local guys will call them a biltong jachter, and and you won't get a better piece of meat that's as healthy as our ancestors used to go out with their gun and wherever they were in the war, and they would come across something, shoot it, and everyone has a lucky bright, and it's just perfect.
Yeah. Now, and earlier you said when we were speaking off camera, but you moved from Johannesburg to.
That's correct, yeah.
And so that was your main reason, because you wanted to be sort of.
Listen, when I moved, you boys would know, traveling a lot, and I was in the plumbing industry, and I almost think plumbing is like a good restaurant. A good plumbing business is the owner, you know, you're the face, and you've always got to be there, and you're more into somebody's personal space. Like I come into your house, you know, like the food you eat, you're going to eat, so you want to sort of have peace of mind that that kitchen's clean, or that I'm in somebody's house. And we had my first daughter, as I said to you, and there was no time at home, and when I was at home, I was on the computer, invoicing, sleep, 5 o'clock up, cruiser ready, everyone, and you move. And money wasn't a factor. I needed to be with my family, and I shut down everything. I gave everything back to the bank that the bank had on my name. I drove out with my Hilux. My dad, I was a kid when he bought it, and we loaded everything and we left to the farm, and we are 7 years later.
I guess that's the old cliche, what people say, because as a young man, as men, we always want to thrive to be financially successful
100%.
and financially free, but there's a massive cost to that. And
that's what society wants you to believe. That having money and having all this,
and it swallows you. Let me tell you, it swallows you so fast that after you get that new car, let's just say I buy an M3 and my neighbor buys an M5. M3 is $1 million, M5 is $2 million. You're chasing that M5 now in front of you, and if you don't get it, you almost feel like you're disappointing yourself. You know, I need more. I want more. Why can he's working on it? I'm going to start 2 hours earlier, and I'm going to finish 2 hours later, and I'm going to put in the extra work, and we're going to get that extra overtime, and we're going to get it. And you tunnel vision like a horse with blinkers, and you leave everything else behind. You just chase one thing,
and before you know it,
you're swallowed.
Your family is affected. And is that so? That was the reason you wanted to get out of that hustle and bustle?
That was my number one reason. I mean, we had been everywhere. We had done everything except for out of the land, out of South Africa. We had done everything. I had a house in Scotland, and we really had everything we wanted, but I didn't have the time. You know, I was saying to my wife coming here, you know, it's still my dream, and my dream then, if I said 7 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have locked up and left, you know, was to have my wife with me all the time. I didn't want her to have a job, you know, I wanted, you know, and hence we're going to get into the men's health awareness side of things and why things affect, and this was one of the things that really pushed.
And obviously you can have both. You can be successful and be a family man. 100%. But how would you say, if you would give someone advice, a younger boy or man or whatever, how would you manage that from a young age?
Listen, it's a good question. I think when you're young, they got this word of saying young and dumb. I mean, you guys can put it to your career or starting out. You know, you want to be the best. You don't know what your body's capable of. You know, you're pushing it to the limit, and it's difficult for a youngster. You know, put your head down. I was successful, but it took a lot of hours, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of sacrifice. You enjoy your time when you're young. That's what I'll say to you. Enjoy your time when you still live with your parents, when you don't have the bills, and you don't have to fight it. Just enjoy it. I always used to say, gap year. Why do you want a gap year? I went straight from school to work. Take a gap year. Enjoy it while you can. Enjoy your parents. You think you're going to disappoint your parents by going overseas and working on a ship for 2 years? I'm telling you now, take it. I met my wife young, and if I knew then, I would have gone on a ship with her and gone and done it. But you like a boy, 10 or 12 years old. It was an old 7-Eleven on a bicycle, having a packet job available for $2 an hour. I raced home to tell my dad, yes sir, tomorrow I'm going to earn $2 an hour. I'm going to pack bags for $10 a day. He's like, are you crazy? You got your whole life to do this. I'll give you the 10 rand.
So that drive started from yourself when you were young.
Yes.
It wasn't pushed up onto you.
I just wanted to go. I mean, that's
your mentality. It's your mentality.
And kids now, I don't think kids now have how we grew up. I think it's a lot different now. I think.
I guess in a sense it was the same for us. We went straight into a professional contract, but we saw all our friends having the student life, and we try to do both at the same time, which obviously in our industry doesn't really work. So I would also say I think there's a lot of rugby players that first they play through Marties or Tuks before they finish their degree, live that life, and then sign a contract. I think. If I would say that would be these days 100%. The way to go.
I would agree with you. I think I really would. I love my rugby. I mean, it was, if I was able to get a professional contract, I would have done like you guys, just straight, let's go, forget about student life, forget about, and I think a lot of the boys do that, and they never live that student life of being naughty, coming home 2 o'clock in the morning, eating what you want, that shawarma, flipping, eating at 2 o'clock in the morning, what at 2 o'clock in the morning, chomping a lacquer, get home, sleep till 1 o'clock. You boys, Friday, Saturday, game, Monday, back at practice.
I must say we were different. Me and him learned the hard way. Because we grew up very strict. So my dad taught us very But as soon as we left the house, Stellenbosch, we completely derailed. We had a proper rugby contract, but the first 2 years I'd say was absolutely swallowed completely by the lights of Stellenbosch. And we were at a crossroads. I think that's where sort of our coping mechanism back in the day was sort of substance abuse, and we always used to revert back to it. And still, I spoke to him about that, and it still happens now. It's still a journey where you gotta obviously learn how to deal with those sort of things instead of jumping to that. But we learned the hard way. We learned the
and I think the biggest thing there for us, we didn't really, because that time my parents lived in Australia and Australia, sorry, and then we didn't really have a support base. So I think that support base, when you go, no one to kick you under the arse, basically. So I think that's important. And from there on, we started getting better, but we still went to Australia, got involved with the wrong people, a lot of substance abuse then, and so gradually we started getting better and better. But it was still a fact when we did it, we didn't know how to stop. And today we know it's that deep down something was bothering us.
It's the subconscious issues you've never known about, that's coming to light now when you're late 20s, early 30s. So doesn't it, what and your background with mental health? Where does it come a long way? Or?
My old man got divorced when I was young, so my mom, I think they said she had bipolar, and a very difficult household. Where my dad he needed to work to look after his mom, my sister, myself. So he worked 3 jobs in a day. You know, he would, a big guy, 7 foot, so he would work a morning 4 or 5 hours, then an evening of printing, trying to take over, and then a bouncing bounce at night, and then no sleep, and come back and do it all again. And we grew up. I don't know how to say it, but rather, if I had to put as adults, but we were kids. If that makes sense. So we ran the house. So my sister at 5 years old was making lunch for the house. Grade 1, you know, and there was no money for garden service. There was no money for domestic. So we would do everything ourselves.
You have to grow up pretty quickly.
I never had somebody packing any of my bags. You know, we did it ourselves. And I don't know if and a very strict father. So somebody who was like you say, your father, very strict, like it was this or this. You know, that's, and the bigger you got, it went from that to a bouncer, cricket back to that's, and he was so big, he just picked me up like this and just poof, poof, poof.
I guess in a sense, that responsibility taught you who you are today.
Definitely.
But I think there needs to be obviously a fine balance.
There needs to be I don't even think it's a fine balance. I think it needs to be a balance.
I think the way it sounds to me like you had to grow up very quickly.
We did, and we
at
had
the age of 5, your sister cooked making lunches. That's a bit young. So now continue.
So we grew up like that. You know, always expected the best. My dad never missed a rugby game or a soccer game, or even when he broke his back, went for back operation. We lived like 8 to 9 k's from the soccer stadium or the ground we used to play, and he'd walk. He walked. I mean, yesterday he just got back. He's not allowed to sit or lie down. Sit or he must stand. So he walked and watched and walked all the way back. So he never missed a cricket game. And also his goal was to be the best at whatever he did. So his job, whatever his job was, he knew he's going to give 110% stand up, and he'd expect that from us. So if I played a cup game of cricket, or if I played a cup game of soccer or rugby, I'd get it. You know, I would get it. That's.
So sorry to interrupt you there. That's for me. That's quite a good subject to talk about just for a few minutes, because I feel today there's a lot of empathy put on you. Not allowed. You always have to be the kind person, which I firmly don't agree with. I think you treat the children growing up, you tell them a lesson. It's okay to be second. It's okay to be third. That sort of stuff. And I think that's missing in today's upbringing.
Definitely.
Do you know where you can see it as well? In general, the younger groups, 18 to 20 or 15 to 20, they can't take criticism. They really struggle to take criticism.
Yeah.
Like if someone's straight up with them, like I think that you can see it a lot now. And I've looked trying to see if I'm missing something, but it's consistent over those age groups. They can't take criticism.
And when we grew up, I'm telling you now, I don't know if you boys are the same, but I'm telling you, and whatever he would pick out in a game, whether it was rugby or whatever, we would be at that field the next day on a Sunday afternoon and drilling it for hours and hours and hours and hours. I was in Pretoria Boys, and I met my hostel, and then we went into Form 2 or Form 3, came head of house, Mr. Azenkamp. He's head of school now at Pretoria Boys. And I met him, and he said, yes, your dad was the one who just pushed and pushed and pushed you. He just wanted the best, you know. And that's what it was. And I said, yeah, maybe a bit too much. He said, no.
And I think we had this thing the other day. I think it is, you don't get born with it. I think it's a massive part of your upbringing.
100%. I agree.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes, and you said, what you do, rugby teaches us discipline just by itself. But to become a professional rugby player or whatever, in that you have to have discipline.
100%.
Yeah.
That's what I said to you in the message. I said, you boys are professional rugby players. I already know you're professional. You've been taught to be, you are a professional. Everything will be done right. You know, I've seen it with soccer stars. I've sat with a couple of guys and one or two cricket guys, and everything is to the T. I mean, everything is clean, it's neat, it's tidy, it's you have your meals, you know, your protein, this stuff, and everything. And that's what I said to you. Not many. You might have the skill, but it doesn't mean you're going to be a professional.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And listen, so your first, I want to jump to the reason why we're here today. Your first, it doesn't have to be personal experience, because obviously when we spoke, you had close people to talk close to you, and yourself as well. Your first experience with mental health, and I want to touch on what caused that, and move into your coping mechanisms, how you coped it, and if you coped, and how you struggled.
Because so how I cope with it today is different to how I coped with it 10 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been a real roller coaster. And I think I may be wrong, but I think a lot of guys go through it. But what I also think is a lot of guys don't come out the end.
100%.
That's what I think, and I think it's more than what we know. You know, when my mate committed suicide, my dad phoned me and he said, Jazz, he said, no, I said, yo, he said, he died in a motorbike accident. So he didn't even want to tell me, and I didn't go to the funeral because I would have seen that it wasn't a motorbike accident with the stuff around his neck.
Yes.
And and he was a strong guy. He was a macho.
Yes.
He was the loudest. The guys from the south, you can't stop a guy from the south. They're just different.
Yeah.
They're on a different level. And this guy was the loudest growing up. I thought I was loud, and I thought I was mad. This was and you know where it started. His dad died, his pillar, and he didn't. His dad was on his deathbed, but they never knew he was dying. He had a heart problem, and they eventually found a heart, but he wouldn't go in and see his dad in that condition. That's how strong he was. He was like, I'm not going to see you. I know you're going to be out the other side. I don't want to see you how you are, all the tubing, piping. I'll see you. And the helicopter landed at Mill Park, in the south. I picked him up, and he died in the helicopter going over. And he never forgave himself for not going in those 2 weeks and seeing his dad. And that was a strong man, let me tell you now, that I knew from school, I was in Boskop, maybe not Boskop, in Honeydew.
Boskruin, né?
Boskop, it's in Honeydew, man.
They have a blueberry.
Yes. So we were good with sports there. I mean, back then it was a good system with a good sports. And he was in one of these and we'd always see them on weekends. I mean, he was top. He was a mullet, and I just saw him go like this. And one weekend, I made a mistake, and I said to him, "Daddy, come to the farm. Come and see me. Come and see us." But I never knew it was that far.
Yeah.
We're talking 10, 11 years ago now. And
did he ever tell you that he's struggling?
No.
No, that's the thing.
No.
Yeah.
We went. He came. We had a jaw, and we had a lucky evening. I was close to his dad. I knew his dad since a boy. His dad taught me how to ride a motorbike, and my dad's best friend, and that's how close it was. And he came to the farm, and don't know what he did, take drugs or something that night, and he did funny things on the farm. That the domestic came to me and said, "Boss, something's wrong with this guy." And I woke up the next day and he was gone. He had left. He was gone, and I phoned him and he didn't answer. And a couple of months later, I heard he's gone. And the call was he died in a motorbike accident. Something happened, and a couple of days later, nobody knew I knew. You know, they didn't tell me when the funeral was. They said it's a personal funeral or whatever. And at that time, his ex-girlfriend phoned me and said, "Jared, I told him to reach out to you. I told him to call you. I told him." And at that time, there was no social media. I didn't have Instagram or Facebook, or it was WhatsApp. And he when he lost his dad, one thing can trigger it. One thing, and sometimes you may not know like he knew. It's his dad. Then his mom got another boyfriend, and then it just went south, man. And that was the first time I actually sat. And when I was told, I was like, still fine. And a couple of days it came and it came and it came, and then I found out that he committed suicide. And it just hit me like that. And I was like, I could have done. I should have been there to do something.
Yeah.
You know, maybe when he was young, I should have seen something. And that was the first trigger ever. Was to know that somebody I knew committed suicide. It's probably a stronger guy than me, and I wasn't there to help.
How long ago was it?
That's about, it's where it all started for me. It was about 11,
Just a
10,
question,
11 years. Yeah.
Do you, 10, 11 years, I know there's a stigma around talking, but I think now that Jared has spoken about that, I think that might also be a sense of, because the stigma 10 years ago was massive. You weren't allowed to really talk about it, or that's what society portrayed for us. But I think, I don't know, your opinion, it's getting a bit better now, but I still think there's a massive stigma around it.
There is. We are too scared to, maybe everybody for their own reason. My reason for not talking is because I don't want to be, my family looks, every man in the house, your kid looks up to you like a hero. I mean, my dad is my hero. And my wife, she's got an auntie to him too, she turns to me.
Yeah.
And now I stand there and I don't feel like this hero. Now, let me rather suffer in silence than to come out and say to my wife, listen, and I've got no one else to talk to. I don't have friends, and I've chosen that way because people don't know what you're going through. The only person that knows what you're going through is in those four walls. My daughter, my wife, and they see everything. But for them to see something and for me to actually come out and say something is two different things, man.
That's a very interesting point you made there.
Yeah.
The way your family, as a man, you need to support your family, and they need to look up to you. You cannot show vulnerabilities.
That's correct.
Because that will affect them. If you and that is, I think that's extremely tough to get it
for any man.
Yeah, and I've never thought about it that way. But the whole thing is what I just said about your story is also realizing, knowing the people around you, realizing. JP comes to me a lot, and he asks me. He knows exactly when there's something wrong with me, and regardless whatever it is, if I'm having an off day or I just have to, he always comes to me and says, "John, are you okay? Is you alright?" I might say no. I might say, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good." But just by him asking me,
You feel better.
so you already know that there's a notice. So
by your story, Jared, how did you? For me personally, I cope with substance abuse, and how did you manage to do
So my story. So that was just the start. I mean, that was, we just moved onto the farm. So it was about 8-9 years ago. Time gets away, but we had just moved onto the farm. Things were still okay, but they weren't okay. I think we moved onto the farm, and then going from having everything to now making the sacrifice of leaving to accepting we're going to leave and I'm going to have a life with less pleasures than what I had, but I have more time with my family. Then getting to a point of, let's say a couple of months or a year or two goes by, of now realizing my wife met a successful guy. You know, my wife met a guy who had all this, and now I'm sitting asking my dad at 30 years old for money because I don't have anything. Because I'm waiting for the hunting season, and I think there and then on the spot, it just changed me as a person. Gone, done.
Yes, well, I can picture that.
Yeah, it just changed me, and still, you will never recover. I mean, you boys, you got your own story, but for me, it's still always there. It's still always in my mind that, and the way I handled it was, I had an anxiety attack one day. I locked my hands now, so that's the carbon dioxide in your body. So you're breathing more. So maybe I'm a bit nervous. You know, that's what happened. But I always looked at that as my attack is starting. Sure. And I had an attack. I was sitting getting my tires changed in Nigel. I was actually waiting for the shop to open, like 7 in the morning. And I had an anxiety attack. And I thought I was going to die. My heart rate, I sprinted. I ran hitting doors, shops, to see if somebody's there to phone an ambulance. I even left my phone, left the keys in the car on. I just ran. And I got to a chemist that wasn't open, but the nurse inside the chemist, luckily it had a nurse station, and she was busy with somebody, and I said to them, listen guys, I'm dying. And she looked at me and she's like, just come in, sit down, she's busy with somebody, she'll be announced. I'm like, no, I'm going to die here now where I'm sitting. So if she is busy, just tell her somebody outside is about to die. No jokes, huh? She came, she kicked that person out, she got me in, and she took my blood pressure and she took my heart rate, and she like, where did you inject? And she looked at me like this.
Yes.
She said, where? What are you on? Tell me so I can give you something. I said, pardon? I'm done. I didn't inject. I didn't drink. I didn't take a tablet. I didn't smoke. I'm nothing. And she's like, whoa. And she started shouting. And that was my first anxiety attack. Ambulance got me, raced me to the hospital. They sorted me. And then I left. I walked out and everything was fine. I thought, once. A couple of days it happened again, and it happened again, and it happened again. So I went to my GP and I said to him, listen, something's wrong here. Every day I feel like I'm going to die. And, you know, so he said, okay, next time you do it, come and see me. So okay, no problem. Dropped the kid at school, I parked outside his chemist, outside his practice, and it happened. I walked in there, I said, look here. He's like, holy shit, you're actually not joking. And he gave me a tablet called Zolnox to put under my tongue. And he walked out, it couldn't even have been 2 minutes, and he came back and he's like, how you feeling? I'm like, yes, it's good. I'm better. One shot done. He's like, okay, problem solved. Now every day I'm taking a Zolnox. And then it happens twice a day and I take 2 Zolnox. And then came on a weekend and I have anxiety and I'm taking it to have a couple of beers and then I start passing out. And I started crashing my cars. Then got rid of the Zolnox and then turned to alcohol. That's what I turned to.
That's most people.
Yeah. And I turned to alcohol, and once you get into that, it's hard to leave because you think that you're gonna die now.
Yeah.
You don't want to take the Zolnox because Zolnox is not good for business. Even though it's a prescribed tablet over the counter.
But it's like a sleeping tablet.
Schedule, yes, yeah.
But I think that's the thing that people don't understand. I think because it's prescribed, we've got a lot of friends in Australia, and in Australia the opioid crisis, in America as well, is massive. And I think South Africa is about 10 years behind
prescription drugs.
Around prescription drugs, and I don't think people have an idea how bad that is for you.
And let me tell you, it nearly killed me many times.
Because what it basically does is, Ron, you jump in here if you want. You take a painkiller or whatever, it sends natural endorphins to your head. After 5-6 years, your brain doesn't produce natural endorphins anymore. That's when you go off, you go into depression or whatever, and then once you find yourself there, it's hard to get out.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I'll say it, and it is what it is. But a few years ago, and it's probably about 7 years ago now, when I was playing in Japan, I was in a bad cycle with opioids.
Okay.
Where to a point I would hide them in the room, in different rooms in the house for my wife, so I could get up and go there.
So I used to do that with alcohol.
Go there.
Really?
Yeah.
And it was how it started was at the stage of my first life. I got divorced, and my daughter she left to Australia, back to Australia. So I was at home, and then that's the first time I'll never forget it. This 2 times in my life where I got really humbled. When my mother passed away, and when my first daughter left me in Japan alone, then I started thinking, that's me in my head now, alone, coming from training every day, and that's when my problem started. And then I'd get tablet here to try and make me feel a bit better at night so I can sleep, and then the next day come out from training, let's go have one more. Next, and it becomes, it's like before you knew it, I was on the verge of, if I had to take that amount now, I was on the verge, if I would die if I had to take that many opiates on in one day, like where I had to hide them.
I did that with alcohol. My wife will tell you, I did that. So there was, I crashed the car. So I went to do a hunt for Voltenjoch magazine. I was in the hype of my anxiety. I was like on the top, and I got there and they thought I was pissed, but I was zonnox with alcohol.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find the farm, and I was on my own, luckily enough, up like a 30k dirt road in pitch black. Came back and the T-junction just stood there, and I hit it. And the next day I felt so cocked, but it happens, and I never even came out to anybody. The only people that know those stories is my wife.
Yeah.
And I think from that day, Voltenjoch looked at things differently. That's why I said to you, I've lost a sponsor or two along the way, and guys don't understand. Unfortunately, or let's say fortunately, I lost a sponsor, not my life.
Yeah.
Because it's come so close to not you know what it comes down to is you don't say I'm gonna commit suicide because I hate myself and I don't want to be anymore. You say I want to commit suicide because I'm a burden to everybody around me. That's what it comes down to.
It's your presence towards other
and 99% of the people around you will tell you you're not a burden.
Yeah.
And it's when you don't talk, they don't even know you think they're a burden, that you're a burden to them, and you commit suicide. I always said, not always, a couple of videos, I wish the guys who did do it would see how many people were actually at the wedding and how it actually looked.
Yeah.
You know, because I've struggled, but you look at it, and you look at people dying of car accidents, and you look at people who actually wanted to be here, that didn't have a choice. They're gone. They are gone. They've left families behind. And we as men think that our families don't want us. But and I've been there. You can't just say to somebody, "Hey man, go talk, man. Why are you scared?" Because it's not that easy.
That's the thing. That's what infuriates me as well.
Yeah.
People just say, it's just a bad day. You'll be fine tomorrow."
No.
Or just go speak about it. Or just like people in that mind frame. And you sent me along the videos that me and brother listened in the car. People in that mind frame, if you haven't been there,
You don't know.
You do not know.
Yeah.
And I think for my case, in the past I tried to go see this psychologist, that psychologist, and I felt when they were looking like this guy really has a problem, this is really wrong with him. So that pissed me off, and I totally went away from psychologists. So I think the best way if you want to speak, find someone that can relate to you. I'm seeing a lady now, still haven't seen her in a while, but she can relate to me. When I tell her things, stories or whatever, situations, she could understand. She said she always had answers for it. And for the first time I felt like someone can listen, you actually listening and understanding what I'm saying. It's not just, because in the past, relationships and that sort of stuff, I was just, you were bad, how horrible are you, you terrible.
It's hard to find somebody. And
That's what I was going to ask you now.
The thing is, you everybody will have a different experience. So, like you on that and you on that, and we all got different coping mechanisms. I did it because of stress, or my wife found somebody, ex-druggie and ex. He didn't turn to drugs because of pressure of life, or He turned to drugs as
Because it's fun.
a drug addict. You know, I went to you guys were the first people that I'd say in Benoni. There's a better name for it, but a psych ward.
Yeah,
It's not a psych ward. It's a ward where people stress.
Mm.
You go there to learn how to deal with your problem. So I went there to see all the doctors, do all the brain scans to see if I have bipolar, to see if I have something wrong with my brain, maybe something is not something, you know, and everything came back clear. So the next thing was to see different life therapists or whatever you want to call them, or psychologists.
Yes.
So one of the things that I struggled with was with my old man and setting boundaries with him. So now he thinks he can say this, this, and this, and I would be so cross with him sometimes. I shot my phone a few times. You know, where I get so cross with him, where he's on the phone, and I have this episode where I'm enough. I'm done with life. I don't need any more. I stood in my room. In my room, I put my phone on the wall like this, and I shot, and the bullet came back through the phone, off the wall, and came back like this. That's how cross I'd get. And I didn't know how to control this, and I didn't know how to control my emotions, and I didn't know how to say, it's not enough, you've still got a lot to go. You know, you've got to tell yourself how to control these things. And I went to this thing for like 13 days. I never listened to a single teacher in my whole life. But in this 13 days, I said to myself, I'm away from my family. You know, that's one thing, don't take my family. That's the only thing that helps me. I'm away from my family. Just give it to 150% for 13 days. So you never have to come back. Just figure it out.
Yeah.
And I went to every class, 3 hours a day, 3 classes. And I listened, and I asked questions, and I shocked myself, but I figured out. I even figured out my anxiety. But I never had an anxiety attack since then.
No.
I promise you.
Can you explain a bit more? So you stayed in there for...
Okay, so what happened? Let's go the night before. Okay, so the night before was on Zornox and beer. And when they said you must go to a rehab, because you're an alcoholic, I said, okay, but I'll tell them what I do.
Yeah.
Do I wake up in the morning and drink beer? No, sorry. Do I wake up in the morning and drink a hardcore thing, whiskey or brandy? I don't even drink whiskey or brandy. When you drink, maybe 3, 4 o'clock, have a couple of beers, maybe. So what's the problem? And then we figured out it was a Zornox with the alcohol. The night before that, I was doing something and I got really bad on it, and I told my wife, I'm done, I'm enough. And she found this place in Benoni, I'll get the name for you, and she drove me there, 1 o'clock in the morning, to there. I got there and I refused to stay, and I boxed all the security, and like the movies, and the nurse jumped on me with the injection and she injected me up cold, and I woke up in the morning in this flipping thing, and I'm like, what the hell? And the head psychiatrist, or the one that was given to me, came and she prescribed, she did an analysis on me, and she's like, no, he's not mild. He's perfectly fine. We just got to find out what's wrong. So, and there you get a place where you go like the movies, but it's like the movies. You go into this place where you don't have phones, you've got nothing. You're out until they figure out what's wrong, and then you must go home and get. So I go there. I saw the psychologist. Everybody there was in this facility for 13 days. I walked out there, a new person. No tablets. Okay, I still do maybe too much sometimes, but no tablets, no anxiety attacks. I never had one attack. The first night I was in there, the next day I had to go and see the psychologist, and I was having an attack. I called the nurse. I said, check here, I'm dying here. I need my tablets. Where's my tablets? I said, wait. I went in there and she showed me. She played the recording. When I walked in there, talking fast, like I'm on the edge all the time. When I walked out, she said, check how you're talking. Slow, calm. You've learned, you've taught yourself. I always look at my hands because you're nervous, you're breathing in too much. That's why they always say when you have an anxiety, you put the bag over your mouth and breathe. It's the carbon monoxide, and then you start shortening your vision, and but it's 99% of the time yourself making yourself worse. You understand? If that makes sense.
No, 100%.
Yo, and so I want to check with you something. What gave you, if you could tell someone now, just to take that first step, just to the courage. What gave you the courage to, even now if you have panic attacks, if you think you might be fine, or if something goes on, do you still deal with yourself, or do you have your support base that you can talk to?
Listen, I was at Mega Springbok this weekend, and there's a dog there called Dwarfy, he's deaf. And me and him had a lekker chat. I told him all my feelings, man. He can't hear nothing, and there's nobody. I told him everything. I saw him, got up, and I said, thank you. I gave him a piece of dry horse, and I walked up. I felt better. Just find somebody to talk to. Don't find somebody who's going to judge you. That's the best. I can. Maybe your father is a bit more headstrong than your mom. Maybe your mom's a bit more judgmental than your oma.
You would know the right person.
Go to somebody that you feel won't judge you for nothing. That if you came home 2 o'clock in the morning with no clothes on, drunk and doing this, and they'll be like, okay, my boy, don't worry, go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and they'll never look at you like that ever happened. That's the person you go to. Go to that person, and even if it's, you will know that. If you go and buy a cheap cell phone, and just say answer and pretend you're listening. And when you phone, that person just answers it and puts it in the corner, and you just sit and talk.
It just shows you.
But let me tell you now, by just doing that, my wife understands, but she still doesn't understand, if that makes sense. So she understands it's my self-worth. Even still, as I'm sitting here right now, I still struggle with it. I still sit here and I can tell you, I don't even know if it'll get better. You know, I don't know if I reached my full potential in life. I don't know if I even find my course. I don't even know if, you'll never know. Everything is uncertain. Come to terms with it. You know, don't always worry. I'm a warrior. I worry all the time. Try. It's hard, but it's like rugby. The more you do it, the better you're gonna get. You know, if you throw a ball, the more you do it, the farther you're gonna throw. Tell yourself every day. Just tell yourself it's gonna be better. It's gonna be fine. I can do it. There will be somebody who will listen, and find that person.
And on your platforms and stuff, you get a lot of people that contact you and
I put my number there once. I mean, I just said, guys, and a guy contacted me, and we had I told him my life, and it came out he's a father at my daughter's school. I mean, I never put my number again. You know, I always tell people, you can send me a message on my platform. I'll help you. I'm here. Let me tell you, I don't think many people have gone through what Then, let me tell you another story. So, at one point in my whole career of Instagram and whatever, I felt I was on top of the world. No one can stop me now, but I'm going. I just got the USN sponsor. So the USN guys came on board. I was doing a men's health awareness challenge. No one could stop me. I had everything. I was doing Voltaire writing for doing their stuff. No one. And that Sunday I went to bed. The Monday I woke up. And now I'm a softer. I love everything and everyone, but I promise you. And I think that's part of being so emotional is, or letting things get you, is when you get too attached to something, or your heart's in everything you do, you know, you worry. And I went to bed that Sunday night, and I woke up and taking my little one to school, driving from the farmhouse down to the gate, and I saw one of my tractor batteries, and I saw a trailer tire, and I saw something else. My boys had a party here last night. What the blazing, I got to the gate, my gate was open, and I was going back to give them a stick. And I checked my garage, open, everything gone. Everything gone. We never had a robbery in our whole lives on the farm. And that was fine. But I had my dog, my pointer, that I sent for 3 months tracking. He's the best. He does all the Kruger Park dogs. And the best dog to ever go through his academy. And a close dog that grew up on my bed. You know? And I ran. I didn't open the cage. I jumped over the cage. And I went, and there he's lying dead. And the 2 females that did, they poisoned him. And, you know, that
yeah, I can imagine that.
killed me. That just took me from there to the worst. And then I think even then was just like, I would have killed somebody that day. I had the chopper come in, the chopper landed within 40 minutes of me finding walls, and we went the wrong way. And then you look at all the stuff around it, neighbours not talking, and they've been hit for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and so even if you have things under control, and by then I was still suffering, you know, even feeling on top of the world, I felt like we're going forward, you know, taking 30, 40, 50 steps forward at a time. And I could have made it from here to wherever, the end of the world, however far that is. And you wake up that morning, you've just taken to you until the other end of the world back. And that just, and I heard him barking, and I was like, he's barking at the zebra at the fence, or he's barking at the something. And he was, a lot of time, effort, love went into that dog, and they took him for stuff that the insurance doesn't even pay out. Insurance doesn't even pay. I mean, we didn't. And then it brings you now, for the next year you suffer, even worse.
Yeah.
Now you're like, where's that beer? I need a beer. Get a beer. Where's that tablet? I need a tablet. And then to a point where my wife was, after that, was saying, every time there's a problem, you're going to drink. Every time there's a problem, you're going to take a tablet. Every time there's a problem, you're like, no. And then a million promises later, you're still doing it. Like you hide that beer in that corner, hide that beer in that corner, hide that beer around that corner, hide that beer.
It's so true.
I promise you.
Yeah.
And guys do it, let me tell you now. More than, and some maybe with alcohol, some maybe with worse stuff, some maybe with whatever their addiction or whatever caused them. You know, when I was in Joburg, I never had a problem. There was nothing wrong. Everything was fine. I'd go to work, do my stuff, come back, sort everything out. It was full steam ahead every single day. It wasn't and just something small can just say, and it's not money. It's not, you can't say your family. It's not, you can't say, oh, but you got such a beautiful family. Oh, you got these guys are billionaires, trillionaires, and he doesn't. And he's got 3 little daughters there. He's got his wife, he's got a beautiful home.
Yeah, I guess for me the worst, sitting and listening now, for me the worst is, like, everything can go, my marriage is going well, my rugby is going well, everything in my life is going well, but then all of a sudden I just get into this place, I find myself sometimes on the field, into this place of, fuck, I can't even get out of it. Like, usually you can just make a decision and decide, but I find myself and I just keep digging deeper, and that frustration, how do you guys handle that? Because I don't know if you experience that as well.
With me, when I was really bad, and so I got off the Zolnox now, so that was off, and now I turned to alcohol completely. So I wasn't taking a tablet to calm, because the tablet was mixing and was a bad outcome. So now you turn to alcohol and you say to yourself, only one. Then you have one beer, and then you're thinking about the other one all the time. Okay, another one. And then you're thinking about it all the time. And that clinic that I went to, I didn't go there because I wanted to. I went up all the security, they put me down like a dog. The wonder of the world. Not because, and I saw one guy, the guy that I said to was a druggie, that I said, or my wife said, at least he knows what he's going through. He didn't know what I'm going through. I don't take an addiction because, or it's not, I don't do what I do because I enjoy it. I do what I do to forget.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to, at the end of the day, you want to, 100%.
Yeah.
And this clinic, you go in there, no one knows you, with a bunch of people for different reasons. Some people have problems with their marriage, some people have stress, but you're on there for your problem. And whatever that lecturer in front of you says, it might reach, maybe this 30 minutes or hour, 2 hours or 3 hours, doesn't even affect, maybe it was nothing to do with you. But the next time you walk in and they just hit the nail on the head, this, and you're like, yes, and then is this serious? And then you're like, yeah, but that's me. Everything they say is me. And when you talk to people like I'm talking to you, you see more of your story coming out of other people's mouths,
so
and you're like,
yes,
but that sounds like me. Like, did you steal me? Like, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's that's how it is, and you know, you can try and change or to put this fake face on, but you'll never ever inside You'll never change
Do
it.
you think it's a matter of just embracing it and
I think so.
acknowledging
Yes.
that there's
Yes.
And speaking up.
Speaking about it,
Speaking up.
so on my Instagram, you'll see, if you go back and you listen, when I just started speaking, it even helps just to talk to the camera and do
Yeah.
everything, you know, that's how I felt. And guys say yes, 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 yes. And the more you say that, the more you see there's more, my wife now sort of sees it differently because she sees there's so many people that are suffering with this. And some people go on as far as commit suicide. And, you know, I've been there. You know, where I was done with. I was done disappointing. I said, I'm not disappointing anybody ever again.
Can you go into a bit? You don't have to.
Okay.
Deep
So-
into that.
So, Zolnox again and alcohol. No, Zolnox already knocks you 10 laps, and alcohol, it makes up for a. If you want to ever go to war, you just, everybody who's going on that war, just mix Zolnox with a 1 liter black label, and I promise you won't lose that war. I'm telling you now. And you know, I was never suicidal in my whole life. I would, to be honest, before my mate died, I didn't even know anybody who did commit suicide. And I said to myself, I'm done. And I just slipped away, and I was like, it's over. I don't need her to see me. I don't need her to. They will find me, and I went in the room and I opened the roof. I smashed the roof open like this, and I turned it open. I did it on my thing, and I hung, and I was gone eventually. And I woke up on the floor, and she was with me. And it happened so fast like this. And when you wake up, it was the first and last time. When you wake up, I was the fortunate one who woke up. That thought, hiding my problems from her in my heart and not telling her. If I didn't wake up, imagine her telling my daughter for the rest of her life what her father did. And like I said to you, it's not about being a coward. Because a coward, take a gun, take the bullets out, just take the magazine out, cock it, shoot a few times, and just take it and look at it like this. And look down that barrel. Just look like this. And tell me if you think you put that 180 grain bullet in that chamber and your finger off the trigger, so you're not even going to shoot yourself. Would you do this? Not in your life. Not even your finger on the trigger, nothing. Just
basically the total opposite of a coward, eh?
Just a bullet in that chamber, no magazine, in the chamber, no finger on the trigger, fingers away, so no one can touch the trigger. And would you now look up that chamber? I would look up it. Even though I know I'm not gonna pull it, but I won't look up that chamber. And now imagine that guy is so far gone. He thinks, and let me tell you, he thinks the world hates him. He actually thinks the world will be a better place without him. So badly that he knows that thing's in it and I'm gonna pull it.
Yes.
Huh? But what?
No, you have to be.
It's not a coward who does it. He actually thinks he's doing the world a favor. So I thought I'm doing my family a favor by not being here. When you wake up and you look and you see what you're actually going to leave behind and how she is so hysterical and how.
Just to put it in perspective as well, like we've all lost family members. We've all lost them. That to that extent doesn't even make you want to really do it.
No.
Just imagine how far you have to be
To do that.
Yeah. And how long the journey must be
to get you there.
to get to there.
Yeah.
And in that journey, no one helps, or no one can help. And it goes both ways because you can't speak, but no, it's.
You know what the worst part is people don't understand. Like maybe a couple of guys who look at this will be like, "Are you mad? Is that as mad?"
Well,
I mean, honestly,
And that's the reason why we can't talk, because of that.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you now, regardless of what people say, what they want to say, negative shit about, there will be people out there that can relate to this.
100%.
I can guarantee you that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, what the purpose of this is. I mean,
And just before we end off, I just have one question, and this is, how do can you feel it coming again, those thoughts, and how do you handle that? Just for the young guys coming up, because in sport it's a lot of pressure at a young age, and people think you can handle it, but at that age you can't. So how would you say to a sportsman, and in your case, how would you manage that?
But you always feel it. So I can feel it coming. So it's just how I'm driving, or I feel it. I can feel, okay, here we go. Listen to your breathing. For me, I don't know if you get a really deep breath. So if you run around a rugby field and you take that deep breath, it's like because you're tired. But if you are your normal self, you take your deep breath that you know. Yeah, I felt it. Now I feel, okay, now I'm starting to feel better. Now my body is already telling myself, it's coming, I yawn. So I yawn, then I know, okay,